everyone, my name is Jennifer Stay. This is Coloring Bliss and I have a question for you. Have you ever heard of tinted charcoal? And if you have heard of tinted charcoal, have you wondered if you need it in your art stash? Well, today we're going to do an unboxing and first impressions of a couple tinted charcoal products and kind of see what it can do a little bit. We're going to swatch it, get the feel for it, and then I'll tell you whether I think you might want to get it or might not want to get tinted charcoal. So let's take a look at tinted charcoal. So over the last few months, we've looked at a few of these new little palettes that Derwent has been creating. Now they're not brand new, they've been out for a while, and so they're quite readily available and they're reasonably priced, maybe a little bit expensive, but not too bad. We've looked at the Graphitint paint set, which we're going to talk about because graphite is, when I think of charcoal, I automatically think of graphite because both are used for sketching and for drawing and you can smudge them with your finger, all that kind of good thing. So we have Graphitint paint pan set that we've looked at before and the metallic paint pan set. I'll link both of these videos, so if you're interested in seeing these products, you can. But today we're here to talk about this set right here. And I discovered it when I was looking at these two paint pan sets, and then this one came up. Now, Miss Rose has some work to do here on her pillow, so we'll let her get settled and then we'll keep talking about these paint pans. Whoa, that was some serious organizing. There. Now I think she's all settled in and ready for us to continue filming our video. Alright, so in this world of tinted charcoal, Derwent has produced two products. We've got Derwent Tinted Charcoal in pencil form, which I purchased the 12 set, and I think there's a 24 set available. And then I also purchased their Tinted Charcoal paint pan set because I've been enjoying their little paint pans so much. So let's take a look at these two products and we'll talk about what they are here as we unbox them. First off is our tinted charcoal pencils. Let me get some scissors here, crack into this packaging. Okay, not a whole lot of color in tinted charcoal. That's one thing we're going to talk about. If you're expecting color, I don't think we're going to be very wowed by the color. Oh, we already have a broken tip on this pencil right here. I know that charcoal is very delicate, so I'm not too surprised, and I'm not even angry about that little break there. We'll just sharpen it very carefully. We'll probably use the hand sharpener versus using an electric one so that we can be really careful with that tip. We can also use a knife if we need to. I usually sharpen my pastel pencils with a knife because they're just as brittle and delicate as the tinted charcoal from what I understand. Okay, let's see what this has to say about the tinted charcoal pencils. Are wonderfully expressive, which offer dramatic beauty of traditional charcoal with a gentle hint of color. So we shouldn't be expecting too much color here. Combining natural charcoal particles with the finest clays, these pencils can be sharpened to a point, and yet they will smudge and blend easily to produce deep, rich tones. Available in 24 shades, including white for highlighting. So I usually recommend when you're trying a new product to buy a smaller set, and then you can really get in and experiment with it and see if you love it, and then you can buy more of those pencils. I do that all the time when it comes to products like this, especially ones that I'm not familiar with. Charcoal is a medium that I don't work with, so this is a very new and foreign experience for me. This is the same thing, I believe, only in pan form. It says water-soluble, unique blend of charcoal with hints of color. Let's see what the back says. Enjoy the inimitable, don't know that word, quality of charcoal art with a twist. Derwent's uniquely formulated tinted charcoal paints are water-soluble, adding just a hint of color to charcoal base. This palette of 12 deep muted tones provides a high level of creative control with a white pan for highlighting. Each color quickly and easily mixes, creating atmospheric and expressive results with a matte textured finish. Blend colors wet, apply in layers and lift, smudge or draw over even when dry. This compact self-contained set contains 12 charcoal paint pans, 5 mixing palettes, a sponge, and a mini water brush. Woo, lots to see here when we open this up. Okay. Here we go. Even the samples across the top show just how uncolorful they are. The Graphitint we really loved, had a fun time playing with it, and it has graphite as the base and then tints of color added in, and they actually have some color. We'll look at swatches of all of this here in a minute. Okay, here's my box. Looks a little charcoal-y. Charcoal is traditionally a very messy medium, so I'm going to get out a baby wipe so I'm ready for any mess. And maybe we'll just wipe this palette down real quick. Okay, let's open this up. Here is the little swatch page that they give you, which isn't super helpful. It just looks like a whole bunch of grays, except for maybe that mountain blue has some blue in it. So we'll definitely be making our own swatch chart to go with this little palette. Now, we also have, let's see, looks like we're going to need scissors again. You can see our 12 charcoal colors here. And they're organized in these little trays with 6 adorable little pans. Let me turn it over so you can see how these trays work. So you can pop these out, which I'm kind of excited about, because if there's a few that I really like here in the charcoal set, and grab my favorite Graphitint and maybe a couple of the really good metallic ones out of this set and put them all together in one little box that would represent things that I can use when I don't want just standard watercolor. So I'm excited to swatch. This is the little brush you get here. It's a water brush, so you fill this reservoir with water. It has a plug, and you want to save that plug because it'll only fit in here if the paintbrush is unassembled. So you twist that on, and then you can squeeze the water up and into the bristles and do your art. I'm going to be using just standard watercolor brushes today. So we'll take this apart, put the plug back in, and we'll just keep that right in here. Kind of fits there. Okay, so we are going to have some fun swatching these. I'm going to swatch them 3 different ways. Seems to be my routine lately, is seeing everything on 3 different papers. Let me show you which papers I've selected. First off, I want to see it on tan paper. These swatch books here are available at Coloring Bliss. Follow the link in the video description. We create these swatch books in a lot of different formats. This is volume 1 right here. It has 3,600 swatching squares in here, 60 per page. And this one's, like I said, printed on tan paper. You can get it on black paper, white paper, marker paper, color pencil paper. There's a ton of options. This is what it looks like on black paper. I've done a lot of swatching in here. So we'll do it on tan and black, and I want to see it on watercolor paper. So this book here has been printed on watercolor paper, and we will swatch into this one. This one only holds 1,800 swatches only. Okay, so if we flip to this page right here, you can see where I have already swatched out the Derwent Graphitint here, the Kuretake that are graphite type paints. We have Derwent Sketching, and we have more Derwent Graphitint pencils here. So lots of good things swatched here. We're going to swatch both of the pans and the pencils here. So we've got 12 slots ready. And we'll do it here on, this is what the Derwent Graphite looks like on black, and also the Kuretakes. So we'll be comparing those and see if we like them. And here's a good empty spot here that I blocked off some other swatches. I don't want you to see those quite yet. Okay, and then we'll swatch right here on the tan paper, right below where the Derwent Graphite has already been swatched. Okay, let's cue up the swatching. On the tan paper and the black paper, I have room to swatch these products 3 times. So the first 2 rows will be the Derwent Tinted Charcoal pans. And I just use a little bit of water and swatch it out into the square. Now the next 2 rows are for the tinted charcoal pencils to see what they look like dry. I swatch about half the square out with the pencil and then use my finger to smudge it out and see what colors we get with a smudgy look. And then finally we're going to see what the pencils look like wet. So I colored down about 1/3 of the square, and then using my wet paintbrush I'm going to activate all of these pencils. Now these pencils are technically not water soluble as far as Derwent is concerned, because they didn't include the little paintbrush symbol on each of the pencils. But if you've worked with charcoal before or watched other artists use charcoal, we know that charcoal is naturally water soluble, so using them this way is totally expected and reveals some really interesting differences. Wait, that way. Hi. A cat visitor. Oh, don't put him on here. That would not be helpful. Thank you for visiting, little orange kitty. On the watercolor paper, we're going to see these products 2 different ways. One is with the pans painted out into the swatching squares. And secondly, we're going to see the dry pencils smudged out into the squares, which I'm really excited to see on this watercolor paper because it has more of a texture, printed in texture, so we'll see what this product does with that. Okay, we have all the swatching done and I'm excited to look at these, and I've got to say they surprised me. From the other videos and research I had done, I really expected them to be almost no color at all, but what I'm seeing here is a very subtle but very distinct color story. Let's start with the watercolor paper because it's almost a white, so we can see it on a white. So right here, these 2 rows, this is the pans painted out. And if you want a comparison up here, this is the Graphitint pans, this set right here painted out. And you can see the Graphitint is definitely more colored. So if you're looking for a product that will do a nice vintagey feel, kind of a gray toned out colors, I would recommend the Graphitint so far because they have more color, but with the charcoal we're getting a much more subtle feel. This makes me feel like stormy days, like if you were doing a background that was a stormy background. Look at all the pretty subtle variations you can get. The thistly, which is like a lavender color, some greens, and a whole bunch of pretty grays, and of course the blue. It's really a very pretty stormy type looking palette. That's what I would call it, stormy. Now down here where I drew out the pencils, and then I used my finger to smudge. And by the way, if you don't like getting messy when you're working with art supplies, you don't have to use your fingers. You can use cotton swabs, paper towels, the paper tortellini, I can never remember the name. It looks like a cone of paper. That works well. You can also use the pressed paper stumps. Those work great too. There's lots of options. You don't have to use your fingers like I did. Okay, but look how pretty these look. I love the colors they gave us in this 12 tin, and it's making me want all 24 colors. Look how pretty they are, and then the texture of the paper is definitely showing through. You can see it there, giving it a really interesting effect. but the blending out with the finger seemed to be my favorite way to use those pencils so far. Really satisfying. Reminds me a lot of working with pastels. You can do very similar things. Okay, let's take a look at the black swatches. Now here we get a different story. The colors are getting totally lost on the black paper except for a few exceptions. And that's to be expected. I'm not surprised by that at all because we're talking about a black or dark gray base to these products. So if you put a dark black or gray base on black, they're just going to sort of cancel each other out. So what we are seeing is any kind of light color that might have a bit of a tint, or like the white pencils and the pans. Those are the moments that we actually see the product and see the difference between the black paper. So this 2 rows right here, that's the pans painted out. This 2 rows right here, that's the dry pencils smudged out, which, oh, let me bring that up to camera because look at that gorgeous lavender color and the sand color and even that green moss color. Again, that stormy, really moody feel to it. I really like those colors on the black. And then down here is where I colored out the dry pencil and then activated it with water. And it definitely, you know, in some situations, if you think thistle is lavender and lavender here, it's doing better here. And it's probably because we're putting more product, more pigment gets laid down, so you get more impact on the black paper. Okay, now let's look at the tanned paper. Here we are. So up here you can see the Derwent Graphitint painted out onto the tan paper, and then as we move down here we're into the charcoal. So this 2 rows right here shows you the pans painted out onto tan paper. Again, such a moody, stormy feel. Wouldn't these colors make a beautiful background like this mountain blue if you were doing a background behind say a little chibi girl or something? This would be gorgeous as a blue sky. You'd get lots of variation and interest all mixed in with just the one paint palette, the one paint pan. Now right here is the 2 rows of the dry pencils, but this one is where I've smudged it out with my finger to see the color, and this is where I've painted it out with some water. And you can see they play really well on the tan paper, and you get a lot of subtle variations between the different tools, the different pencils. And that white pencil and that white pan does a beautiful job, really nice and opaque in these situations. Right down here when I used the white dry pencil and then activated it with water, it sort of disappeared. So it definitely likes to be more of a full layout with the pencil or through the pan, and then you'll get much more opaque results. But what a lot of different things we can create with just a couple products. Charcoal's a product I've avoided because it's so messy, and I'd just rather grab a pencil if I'm doing some sketching. But now I think next time I'm going to do some sketching, I'm going to reach for my charcoal pencils because I can get both that graphite look and do the smudginess that I like with these types of tools. So I'm really quite excited, more so about the pencils than I am the pans. So if you were going to try one of these products, would I recommend the pencils or the pans? It really depends on what you're going for, but I think I would recommend the pencils first because you get the water solubility, you get the ability to work with them like a charcoal, but it's not messy like working with a stick of charcoal. So I would recommend these pencils, but if you want to try both products, I'd highly recommend them both, but go into it knowing that you're not going to get a lot of color impact. This is a much more subtle look that they're going for. A very vintage, stormy type look is what I would describe these products. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's fun for me to try products that I'm not super familiar with and swatch them and get them into my ecosystem, the things I use them with, so that I can see if they would be useful to me and the type of art I would do. I'm really excited to play more with charcoal. I didn't think I would be as excited as I am. So I hope you enjoyed watching me unbox, swatch, and get my first experience with these charcoal products, and I hope it helps you understand whether you would like to purchase them or not. Comment below, is this a product that you can pass on, that you aren't excited or inspired by, or is this piquing your interest and making you want to try charcoal? Thank you for watching, and I'll put all the links to the products in the video description. Remember, I'm not sponsored by Derwent or any other companies unless I mention it specifically here in the video. So to help me out, I need you to subscribe. I need you to do the thumbs up. I need you to comment below. That's because you are my sponsors, and I so appreciate all the support that all of you give us. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful, colorful, blissful day. Bye everyone.